And we're back.
And we're back. Uncle Bayless, what's going on, my friend?
I'm feeling much better, man. Much better. You know my situation this past weekend, man. Kids, don't drink. If you're not a drinker, don't drink out there. Or don't mix liquor. Rough weekend for me, but I'm feeling much better. A lot of good sports on TV.
Yeah.
I wish I could have been not in my bed throwing up my guts all weekend, but
Oh, was it that kind of weekend?
it was, man. It was.
Oh man.
Yeah, man.
Oh, good. Well, you know what? Listen, watching some of these games, I feel like it would have made you throw up, especially if you're, a certain type of fan. As I pour myself a little tequila right now. Um, Unc, I feel like, as Breeze would say, we got a lot to talk about, man. I feel like there's a lot to get into this weekend. I don't know where we're gonna start. Should we start with the good, the bad, or the ugly?
I think we should start with the game that you hated and a team that you despise. And that is the Alabama Crimson Tide. Going into Norman at night,
Mhm.
playoff atmosphere, down 17 early, and they found a way to pull out a dub.
Yeah.
Pump, how do you feel about that?
Hated it.
We gotta get that drop.
Man, listen. In all honesty, listen. Shout out to Alabama. I got to give credit where credit's due, man. They got punched in the mouth early. They got punched in the mouth early. They got punched in the mouth hard, and they found a way to come back in that game. Now, with that being said, Oklahoma, who I think that we've all on this podcast have questioned over the course of the season, and you know, originally I think even in the group chat, uh, Breeze even said, "Hey, man, Mateer is looking, dynamic right now," and that offensive line was giving him all kinds of time. Now he was missing throws early,
Mhm.
but still they were able to get off to that 17-0 lead until all of a sudden it seems like I don't know if Bama was just playing possum because the way the tide, no pun intended, the way the tide shifted, and all of a sudden Alabama started playing the way Oklahoma was playing, and Oklahoma didn't know what to do after that. It was insane, right? Like you see Mateer, he's throwing picks. Now all of a sudden, the drop punt, they all of a sudden started making mistakes. Alabama, again, good teams capitalize off of mistakes, right? We always say that. But Oklahoma had no response to getting hit back. And that game went downhill all after that. You knew they were done. The minute the homeboy took that pick six back to the house,
Yeah.
you knew it was done. Oklahoma wasn't going to be able to come back.
Hey,
And
Breeze,
oh,
get
hey, guy.
get that clown out of the chat. Whoever said I'm not even gonna read it, but get that clown out of the chat. Um
You
yeah, man. You look at that game, you said they looked at good early on, but then you look at the stats and you look at how the game played out, and they weren't balanced at all. John Mateer went for over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had that one interception, but they couldn't get a consistent running game, and that's where I think Bama was able to take advantage of opportunities because you don't want Mateer throwing consistently, and I think those missed passes came back to bite them. And like I said, the previous pod, Bama has the talent to compete with anybody. And if you leave them in the game, they're going to find ways to win games. They're not a team that lacks talent. They've had some bad games, but if you leave that kind of team around, they're going to find a way. And I'll tip my hat off to their defensive coordinator, Womack. He made the necessary adjustments early on. You saw Bama sit back in zone, not getting any pressure with that front, and then he decided to start sending blitzes, and then you started to see the mistakes happen, and I think that's kind of where the game swung.
Fair enough.
I'm jumping in here, obviously, but I felt like Alabama won the moments, which was interesting because when you think back the first time they played, Oklahoma won those moments, right? Like every time there was a big moment, a big swing play, the turnover battle, they all went in Oklahoma's favor in the first matchup. And everybody said, oh, Oklahoma won only because Alabama gave them the game. Alabama gave it away just as much as Oklahoma won it. Well, this was the absolute opposite, right? Where Alabama had all the swing moments. You talked about it. Oklahoma, I thought, came out with a really good game plan, and they played really well to start. But then when the moments started happening, they were in Alabama's favor. It was the bumbling of the punt by the punter. And then it was the miscommunication between the wide receiver and John Mateer, right? And all of those moments were swing moments. You look at some of the catches Alabama players made in the second half. All of those were the swing moments, and they all just happened to go Alabama's way, which you can't always script that stuff, right? Some of that stuff is just right place, right time, moment, sometimes being too big for certain guys, and that's just how a play goes. But for whatever reason, all those plays went in Alabama's favor, which I thought was ironic considering it was the exact opposite in the first game. But that'll win you games, right? Like sometimes, especially when you get it where these teams are so good and these games are won in the margins, those swing plays make all the difference. And to me, that was really the difference between, Oklahoma and Alabama walking out with a win. Unc, I can't hear you. Pump, can you hear Unc? Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
I was saying, Pump, before we move on from this game, I know you said Alabama does not deserve to be where they're at in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Now that they're in, and they went down into Norman and played a really good game and showed the toughness to fight adversity, do you still feel the same way, or do you think they could kind of disrupt, certain narratives on whether or not they should be in the playoffs moving forward?
No, I'll stand by what I said. I still don't think they deserve to be there. I didn't say they weren't a good team. I think those are two totally different conversations. Alabama is a good team. They have good talent on that roster, and I think they're coached well. I think Kalen DeBoer is a good coach. Is he an Alabama coach? If you ask Tuscaloosa people, they probably still don't think so. But I think that a 3-loss team shouldn't be there. And I think that when you sit here and you watch that or listen to that broadcast, you heard it. And even after, when, again, I told you, I love Scott Van Pelt. Even he was sitting here when they got down 17-0. He's like, wow, did the committee get it wrong? Should they deserve to be there? And then, yeah, when they came back, that's when you had to say, oh, yeah, no, the committee's right. If you had to question that, then that means something to me. Because if Oregon all of a sudden goes down 17-0 to James Madison, are you going to question, should they be there? If Ole Miss, was down early to Tulane, would you question, should they be there? No, there's no question, because they were 6 and they were number 4, number 5, whatever. But you have reason to question if Alabama should have been there.
So I want to kind of push back on that, though, because of those two teams that you said in Tulane and James Madison. They shouldn't have been there, and the committee put them in based on what they did in their respective leagues. But this, I don't give the committee kudos often, but this is kudos to the committee. I hate Alabama just like the next man, but I think that the fact that you identified a good matchup, you identified the quote unquote eye test of a team and put a team like Alabama in there, and they went on to beat Oklahoma on the road. You could now look at, was Notre Dame a team that should have been there
over Alabama?
No, I'm just saying there's better teams that got left out instead of those snooze fest that we watch. Tulane shouldn't be there. You could have made the argument for Notre Dame. You could have made an argument for a Vandy. So that's what I would say to that. They took the chance on the eye test and put Bama in there, and they proved them right by actually winning the game. Yeah, I'm sure nobody watched Tulane. Nobody watched James Madison. I cut the game on. It was 35 to whatever it was. I proceeded to watch NFL.
Yeah, again, the only pushback I have to that is the fact that, well, by the rules, yeah, Tulane and James Madison were supposed to be there. That if you win your conference, then Cool, you're there. Alabama was there because they wanted Alabama there. We had this discussion last week, right? Again, everybody else who was up there that lost their conference championship game dropped, except Alabama. Because now all of a sudden, if you drop Alabama, it puts you in some kind of conflict. So they did it on purpose. So if I had that game and that was Notre Dame and Oklahoma, I still think it would have been a good game. Maybe Oklahoma would have won. I mean, maybe Notre Dame would have beat Oklahoma. Maybe it would have been a better game, a closer game. Maybe it would have been the same exact game. Cool. My whole point is Alabama shouldn't have been there because they propped them up to be there. Tulane was there because they won their conference. That's it. Alabama's there because you just wanted them there. And that's my issue. I don't care if they beat Oklahoma and came back and made it a good game and erased the 17-0 margin. That doesn't mean anything. They still shouldn't have been there. I don't care.
All right, Breeze, we can push the conversation forward, but I do want your final thoughts before we talk about your Miami Hurricanes, because I'm sure you're dying to get to that. Based on those, because we're not going to talk about Oregon and James Madison or Tulane and Ole Miss. You know, that game happened and those teams didn't belong on the field. Moving forward, do you think that teams like those teams should get in based off of what they did?
Those teams.
Yeah, I mean,
you people.
Or do you need to schedule move over to an actual conference that matters? Schedule tougher competition, but to put those teams in and get those performances that we got.
You just
what changes need to be made moving forward to get more competitive games across the board?
I think you're in a tough spot. Obviously, the answer is treat everybody the same, right? If Miami had the resume that James Madison had, we're not in the playoff. Or we had the same resume that Tulane had, we're not in the playoffs. But because they were two of the top 5 highest ranked conference champions, that's how they got in. The problem is the reason that exists, and I learned this within the last couple of weeks, the reason that was the agreement of how they were going to do the playoff was to avoid antitrust laws. The G5 teams would basically say that you guys are going out of your way to keep us out of competition, keep us out of the playoff. And so in order to protect themselves, the committee said, well, we'll do the 5 highest ranked champions. And so regardless of what conference you're in, if you happen to be one of the top 5 highest ranked champions, we're going to put you in the playoff. And that works. It keeps them from litigation. It keeps them from having to go to court and getting sued by G5 teams. But the answer is easy. If you want to make sure that you are putting the absolute best teams in the tournament every year, treat everybody the same. Now, I think you could also expand that by doing what I've argued for years and get rid of preseason rankings. Because why was Tennessee ranked all year? Why was Missouri ranked all year? They did nothing to be worthy of being top 25 in the country besides losing to better teams, right?
And
losing to the SEC. Yeah, we're losing to higher ranked SEC teams. So get rid of preseason rankings, actually pick the field based on the same resume across the board. And that's how you end up with not guaranteed competitive games, because we've seen blowouts. So I don't want to act like you don't see blowouts between Georgia and Tennessee and teams like that. And that's not the case. But this is how you at least guarantee that you're putting the best teams in. Grade everybody the same. Get rid of preseason rankings.
Unfortunately, too, Breeze, I feel like it's even more of a reason for the Big Ten and the SEC to stand on their soapbox, right? Because I think in their mind, with all things being equal, they didn't expect for the ACC to be as trash as it was.
Yeah.
And have a 7-win Duke team win the conference.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, yeah, the ACC shouldn't be in there because in their mind, fine, it should be Miami, Florida State, Clemson. One of those teams should win that godforsaken conference. But for whatever reason, they can't. And now you have Duke, who isn't here. Now, okay, we got to put this other team in here. Because again, you could have had Miami and Clemson. You could have had Miami and Florida State. You could have had a better option than what we got. But by the letter of the law, this is what we got.
Yeah.
and it sucks. But bring my solution is bring back the BCS.
Please.
But I might be in the minority of that.
No, you're not.
But we could move this thing along. Breeze, your Miami Hurricanes went down to Kyle Field and won a game, not just any game, a playoff game, a game that many Hurricanes fans probably didn't see coming, this soon in Mario Cristobal's career, and it happened this past Saturday. If I told you that you guys would score 10 points in a playoff game, do you think that would have been enough to win a game?
Absolutely not. Especially not against that offense and what it has shown it could be.
So that's exactly what you guys did. 10-3 on the road, led by Mark Fletcher in that defense. Mark Fletcher had over 170 yards on 17 carries, man, and Baby Jesus sealed the deal, and the defense played a hell of a game. How do you feel about that victory on the road? And is this a program changer? Is it just next game? What is the temperature of the Miami program right now?
I think the temperature is a little bit of validation. We thought that we were a good team. We thought that we could compete with some of the premier brands in the SEC. Right? Just a few weeks ago, Texas A&M was the number 2 team in the country. Just a few weeks ago, Texas A&M was considered the best team in the SEC, and that they were going to go play for the SEC championship game. And we thought we had the offensive line and the defensive line to be able to compete with those kind of teams. We thought that we could match up man for man with programs of that caliber or that status, or teams that are perceived to be of that ilk. But you don't know until you play the game. Now, I watched film, shameless plug, somebody said Canes. I went out and I said that Miami could win that game. I thought there were going to be some advantages for us to be able to do that. Some of them played out, some of them didn't. But I wasn't shocked to see us win. I picked us to win, and I picked it based on football reasons. I picked it based on what Texas A&M had put on the field throughout the entirety of the season. And so nobody saw it happening the way it happened, but I think it was a bit of validation, not only in that we think we can play at that level, we think Mario has recruited and developed the team to be inside out, where they can win in the trenches, line up against anybody in the country. And this game was a bit of validation for that for us.
I'm with you. I think it was more so validation for that defense, all that smack talking that happened during the week. And I think that the defense went out there and took it personal, and they played physical, they played fast, and they didn't give up an inch, and this was, just old school. I know a lot of casual football watchers probably thought it wasn't a good game, but from just a defensive perspective, this was a well executed game, and I hope that defensive coordinator gets a job pretty soon. Speaking from a nose perspective, because he's got to win the Broyles Award, as the best assistant coach in the country. He's got to be up there, But hell of a job by that defense. But
yeah,
looking forward, man, you got Ohio State, next, so that offense has to step up. But hell of a job by the defense.
If I can, Breeze, and I'm direct this at you. I think we had a couple of conversations over the weekend, and I think I said, this game, 2 really good defenses. You know what Texas A&M is. You know what Miami is. Again, they came to play. I think there was a point in that fourth quarter where the longest play for Texas A&M, I think, was like 14 yards, which was again nuts, because again, been talking about those wide receivers for almost kind of like the entirety of the season, like they're there. Yeah. But this was a game where I think I mentioned which quarterback was going to F up first, right? And if you look at the numbers, Carson Beck, a lot of pedestrian numbers. Marcel Reed, but 2 huge picks, right? So he messed up more than the other quarterback. Going forward, what are you expecting from Carson Beck? Because again, I think that Miami has the kind of team where you really don't want to play him. I feel like when Miami is playing on their best, I think that they can beat majority of the teams that are still in the playoffs right now. They have that talent. They have enough experience, especially at quarterback. Carson Beck has experience. Going forward, how deep can Miami honestly go?
Well, when you have a defense that travels and you have the trenches that travel, you will be in every game. Right? It's unlikely that Miami will get their doors blown off. Lose 100%. Could have lost this past Saturday. Very well could lose next Wednesday. If they were to win that, they could go to Arizona and lose to who we assume will be Georgia. They can lose because when they're not on their game, and I said this early in the year, Miami doesn't have the roster where they can just show up and just expect to win games. That's not the case. So they can lose to any team that's left in the field. But because you have a defense like that, because you are built the way you are, offense and defensive line, you will likely find yourselves in each game. So I think they can also beat anybody. They could lose to anybody, but they could beat anybody. As far as Carson goes, actually, part of why I was late getting on, I went back and watched the all 22 film of every offensive play during the game. And I noticed a couple of things with Carson. One, he was not really asked to do very much. I think Shannon Dawson had 2 weeks to overthink things. He got cute. We did a little more quote unquote trickery than we probably should have. And we really could have just ran right at them because our best play was the inside zone. Our best play was the halfback dive. So we could have just did more of that. But considering the environment, considering the win factor, I heard multiple people, including Greg McElroy, who made the call on the game, a couple other people who were there on the field side, the Cover 3 podcast guys, Josh Pate, where the wind was swirling and it was continually moving from different angles. And you saw a shot play where JoJo Trader completely kills the TAMU DB, like runs right by the corner. And Carson throws it out there, and where it leaves his hand versus where it ends up landing is like 3 to 4 feet off of where he was aiming it. And the wind just carried it. You saw the same thing, the kickers struggled when carrying it. So considering what you saw was working, which was the halfback run, you overthought it. You ran a little more trick plays than you probably should have. And then you have the factor of the elements. I thought it was a good decision by Dawson to say, yeah, we're not going to ask Carson to do a whole lot. And for Carson, he made a couple of really good throws, but also, and I think it's to your point, while he will not be considered as the winner of the game, he certainly wasn't the loser of the game. And I came into the season saying, I don't need Carson to go be Cam Ward and go win me 12, 13 games. I need Carson to get the ball to the playmakers and don't lose games, right? And when we lost games this season, 4 interceptions against Louisville, that's on Carson. 2 interceptions against SMU. One of them is not your fault. One is in overtime that seals the game. That last one is on Carson. So don't lose us the game. And he didn't, right? And as long as he doesn't do that, the defense, you assume, will continue to play to the level it's playing at. And your offensive line will allow you to run the ball and do some other things where Carson doesn't have to be Superman. And the wild thing is, or I would say the scary part is, we play long enough, you're going to get a game where Carson's dialed in. You're going to get a game where Carson looks like 23 Georgia. We saw that against Pitt. We saw that several times in the season where he goes out there, he throws the ball 29 times, he's plus 70% completion, and he hits you for like 3 tutties. That's the scary part. If they're able to win with him throwing for not even 150, 0 touchdowns, because I don't give him credit for that touchdown on the Malachi Tony. It's not a pass, bro. It's a jet sweep.
Yeah.
I don't give him credit for that. But like, if he actually does play like he can play, that's the scariest part. They won without him really being a factor.
I don't know about you, but I don't like it.
One bit. Hey, man, hell of a game by the Canes. Hats off. Much respect, coming from a Noles fan, I can't hate on that. It's going to be a tough one, though, against Ohio State. So that defense got to bring everything that they had this past weekend and more. And Carson's going to have to step up this game. I don't know if we want to jump into that, or Breeze, you want to kind of take over, or what we got left on the docket, but I don't want to jump ahead.
I mean, we can go ahead and do that. There were no other games to talk about this week. At this point, I feel like we might as well pivot and just go ahead and have some conversations about next week's games. That is going to be the first game that's played. That's the only game played on New Year's Eve. All the other games are on New Year's Day, which I don't know why that played out that way. Like I got the Oklahoma game on Friday and then Miami being the early game because ESPN sold the afternoon and night games to TNT. And so then they kept the best matchups for themselves. So I get that. I'm not sure why.
I don't like it at all. But just like the one, because I guess next week is still going to be one lone game and then 3 on. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's weird.
Either way, this is the matchup y'all wanted.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? This is obviously a super difficult matchup. Ohio State is probably the most talented team in the country. They have been either number 1 or number 2 basically all season. They've only lost one game. That game was to Indiana. But I keep going back to it. The storylines for Miami to make a run are actually incredible. The Texas A&M, there's not a whole lot there besides, dispelling a narrative that Miami can't go out on the road and beat a real program, quote unquote. But now you get Miami, Ohio State, and everybody. If I'm probably going to put the over under at like 30 times, I'm going to see that clip of the O2 Fiesta Bowl. Terry Porter throwing that late flag. I've already seen it like 10 times. Like I'm probably going to see it 30 times between now and next Wednesday. But you get that matchup, Jeremiah Smith, Miami kid, last minute in between Miami and Ohio State, picks Ohio State, goes out and does an interview today saying that they got something for us. So you already got the talk going, right? You got a little bit of that. You got Brandon Ennis, who's been talking since the offseason, talking about how Miami wanted him back. Bro, we don't want you back. We just wanted Jeremiah back. We weren't tripping on you, Brandon. But he's going out, he's saying stuff. So you have that history. Okay, and let's say Miami wins that game. Then you potentially get Carson Beck versus Georgia, which that sells itself. Incredible storyline for that. And then you could potentially get Miami playing in a national championship in Miami. The storylines line up incredibly well for Miami to stay in this tournament. And I really hope it happens, obviously, because I want my team to win a national championship. But the storylines kind of line up. It's actually kind of crazy.
I'm calling rigged if it all happens. If it all lines up and play out the way that it should, I'm calling rigged.
You can call whatever you want. But let's go ahead and talk about the game. Obviously, guys, Miami is a dog. Miami is the biggest point spread dog in this round of the playoffs, in the quarterfinals. They're the only ones that are double-digit dogs. But I heard a couple people already say that this is the most intriguing matchup. Are you guys on board with that, or you think some of these other matchups are a little more exciting, have a little more on the docket for you?
Go ahead, Pump.
No, I mean, personally, to me, all of them outside of one are interesting games to me. I don't know why Miami would be a double-digit dog against Ohio State. Because again, I think that Miami has a really good defense. I think they've had a really good defense all season. So again, you walk into that, it's no different than watching that Ohio State Indiana game, right? The only thing that people assumed that would keep Indiana in that game is the fact that they also have a really good defense. Yeah, sure, you got a Heisman caliber quarterback, but you can go down the list of the teams that they've actually played. But that defense is good. Defense travels, right? We always say that. Mm-hmm. So why are you a double-digit dog against Ohio State? To me, this is kind of weird. Am I the only one?
Well, for me, I think the interesting matchup is Bama, Indiana. I think Bama could easily upset Indiana.
Easily.
Okay. Bad wording, but
you like Bama. I don't know. You been liking Bama for a while.
I really don't though. I think I'm looking at the talent.
You've been on that Todd Simpson train for some weeks.
No, man. I follow recruiting, and I think if you look at the rosters, you would think on paper Bama should win this game, but Indiana has had the better season. That's why I think it's an intriguing matchup. And it's not about what you've done during the season. It's about getting hot at the right time. So they could potentially parlay that performance against Oklahoma into an avalanche and continue playing well. So that's a more intriguing matchup for me. But I do think that the spread shouldn't be that far with the Miami game. Ohio State has, I think, the best defense in the country. And the only thing I could think of is the reason why the spread is so far is because of when you look at Miami, you take away Malachi Tony, you kind of take away that passing game in a sense. And they do have the running game, but that Ohio State is just as physical up front as Miami. So that might cancel each other out. And you got to look to the other playmakers on the outside to make plays. And, you know, Breeze, you mentioned Shannon Dawson kind of coaches around Carson Beck's decision making at times, to where you don't want to put him in positions to be a Cam Ward. You want him to be a game manager, take timely shots. But I do think Ohio State's defense could put a lot more pressure on Carson Beck to where he gets to those positions where he's panicking and trying to make a play when he doesn't need to. So that's the only way I could see it. I don't call it that far. I think it's a lot closer than the experts are saying.
So were you about to go in?
Oh no, go ahead.
That's the one thing that I'm going to be looking at. And obviously I'm going to go dive into a crap ton of film. I got my access back to my all 22. I plan on watching multiple Ohio State games with the bird's eye view, because when I walked away from watching Ohio State play Indiana, I walked away thinking this team doesn't do anything special. They just go out and say, my guys are better than your guys, which, okay, that works probably 99% of the time. When you're playing Wisconsin, that works. When you're playing Northwestern, that works. When you played in Penn State this year, that worked. But it didn't work against Indiana. And if I'm looking at Indiana and I'm looking at Miami, I'm like, my defense is better than theirs. They had 5 sacks, 9 TFLs against Ohio State. Is their pass rush better than Miami's pass rush? I would say no. Do they have more talent in their front seven than Miami's got talent in their front seven? I'd again say no. So then at that point, I'm like, all right, how big is the talent disparity? Because if it's just going to be, hey, I think my guys are better than yours, I don't know that that's always going to be the case. And Mario Cristobal has played at Ohio State with Anthony Brown as his quarterback, and everybody thought he could throw the ball. And they actually ran over and through Ohio State in their own stadium. So he's shown that he can go out and he can outcoach and have his team better prepared than Ohio State team. He's 1-0 against Ryan Day. So if Ohio State is not going to do anything schematically challenging and it's man on man, am I afraid of their pass rush? It's probably going to be the best one we've seen. But if I think my right tackle is a first round draft pick, top 10 pick, that's how he's looked all year. And I think my other tackle is probably going to play himself into a first round pick, maybe not this year, but the next. I'm like, I think we can stand up against that. And if you're just going to go man for man, then we might find ourselves in a very similar style of game that we saw with Texas A&M, and we just showed we can win one of those. Ohio State's been in 2 of those games this year. The first one was at home against Texas. They pull it out by a field goal or a touchdown. They beat Texas by 1 possession. We'll call it that. The second time you found yourself in a dogfight, you lost to Indiana. And I don't know that Indiana's a more talented team than Miami. Do they perform better collectively? Maybe. But if I'm looking at just the talent disparity or just the man on man, I don't think Indiana's that much better than Miami. So I don't look at this game and think, yeah, it's been a fun ride. It's been a good season, but yeah, this is kind of the end of the line. I don't look at it and feel that way. I'm biased. I mean, am I saying something like crazy? Am I, is my orange and green shades just completely misleading me here? Or does Miami actually have a chance here? Like, I don't know.
I think the trenches wipe themselves out. I think when you look at the skill position players, I do think Ohio State has the edge. And then the one X factor defensively is Caleb Downs. He could make your wrongs your right. He could erase a lot of bad things on the back end, and I would, they're going to scheme something up where they take Malachi Tony out. And then my best players on the back end have to make plays, so I do think that's where Ohio State might have that edge.
But here's my thing, though. Didn't Texas A&M also have that same edge? Texas A&M came in with the two of the best yards after catch guys in the country, and neither of them really made any impactful plays. Mario Craver had the one big catch up the sideline, but other than that, neither of them actually did anything.
Are you comparing Mario Craver to Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate? Because those are two first top 10 NFL draft picks, and then
you're right.
Tennessee ain't no slouch either.
But more than the receivers, Julian Sayin was rattled against Indiana, Right? He had that one drive where he looked really good, and outside of that, he didn't do a whole lot. And he's not the runner that Marcel Reed is. So if Miami's pass rush is what it's shown itself to be, and you can fluster let's remember he's a first-time starter, a redshirt freshman, his first playoff game. If you can throw him off his timing, if you can affect the pocket where he doesn't have the escapability of a Marcel Reed, does Jeremiah even get a chance to go be a Jeremiah Smith? Or if they don't have a run game that forces us to put numbers in the box, and now we're keeping coverage over the top, and you're able to bracket Jeremiah and force Julian Sayin to throw into tight windows and extend plays. I guess what I'm saying is those guys are difference makers 100%. They're both first round draft picks, incredible talents. Jeremiah Smith is a generational receiver. My thing is, if you are able to affect the quarterback, a wide receiver can't do anything unless his quarterback can get him the ball. And we saw that against Indiana for big spurts of that game. Indiana doesn't have first round draft picks at corner. They were able to scheme their way around Jeremiah not going off. And part of that was causing issues for Julian Sayin. Can Miami simply do that? Would be my question.
I think it would be smart for Corey Heatherman to take a page out of the Indiana playbook, but also I think Ohio State needed that loss to kind of what adjustments do we need to make? So I'm not necessarily saying Miami's going to do the same thing Indiana's going to do. You kind of have to have an answer for something that you haven't seen because Ohio State is going to make adjustments. We saw they lost to Michigan at the end of the year and just went on a run and won a national championship because they made adjustments. So I do think you won't see that same Ohio State team that you saw against Indiana.
And I am inclined to agree with that. But then, like, have you ever watched an Ohio State game and you thought, like, man, they're really dialing it up? Or you're like, oh, yeah, Jeremiah Smith is just over there killing another corner in man coverage. Like, I don't remember watching them and being like, man, they're really scheming it up out here. The blitzes aren't exotic like Texas A&M. I think last year they didn't see another team like Michigan. They didn't see a team that could run the ball the way that Michigan did, who could out physical them up front, and then they were able to go off and beat everybody else that they played. I don't know that they did anything schematically. At this point in the season, your team kind of is what it is. And you're not really introducing new things. You're not adding pages to the playbook. The things that you do are the things that you do. And it's about, hey, can I take those things away from you? Or are you able to still do them regardless of what I throw at you? And so I don't think we're going to see some different schemes, some different cons. I think Ohio State are what they are. And I think they do what they do. And they just do it they just do it to an elite level. But I don't think we're going to see some theoretical, philosophical change in the way they approach games. Pump, you've been a little quiet. Go ahead and jump in here.
No, I was thinking about what you said. I was kind of just taking it all in. I mean, to be fair, last year Ohio State also played Oregon and Penn State, who were both pretty good teams, and we know Penn State usually has a really good defense. This year, I don't know if we can say the same thing about them, right? So I'm trying to think of if Ohio State has played a team outside of Indiana where you will give them that same respect as saying, okay, well, we played a really good Penn State team. We played a really good Oregon. Actually, Oregon's actually had a pretty solid defense the past couple years. This year, like they'll actually come and hit you, right? So
Texas, week 1. They played Texas week 1. They played Indiana in the Big Ten championship.
I mean, in all honesty, I throw week 1 stuff just out the box, just because Florida State beat Alabama. So again, you can catch somebody the first game of the season, and it's just not indicative of who you are.
Right.
Ohio State, them getting punched in the mouth. I guess kind of going back to what you said with the Indiana-Alabama game, I feel like the hottest team right now, honestly, should be Indiana, right on? I mean, when you beat Ohio State, you beat the number 1 team in the country. I get that Indiana was number 2, but coming into that game, did a lot of people really believe in Indiana to beat an Ohio State? I don't think they did. So to see them win that kind of game, where it's like a grinded out game, and we know that Ohio State, to your point, Breeze, is probably if not one of the most talented teams in the country. So you don't think that Indiana has all this first round talent on offense, on defense. Sure, Mendoza won the Heisman Trophy. Cool. His numbers are very pedestrian, let's be honest. They are.
Yeah.
But he's the Heisman winner. But he's not the best quarterback in the country. I don't think he is, right? Personally. But you went out and beat the number one team. They're hot, super hot. They can take down Alabama.
You're still on this Alabama thing, huh?
Let's just go ahead and
transition
pivot to that game.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and just pivot to that game. Alabama, Indiana. Let me put it to you guys this way.
I'm want them out of here.
Oh, I do.
Let me put it to you guys this way. What do you think is going to be the difference in this game? Right? Obviously, we know Alabama, they've got a very dynamic passing attack. They can't really run the ball. Their defense can be a little stingy. I think the defense can be opportunistic, where if you give them an opportunity to take the ball away, they will intercept it, and their corners are looking to take it to the crib. Pick 6 against Tennessee in a big spot. Pick 6 against Oklahoma in his last playoff. Their defense could be very opportunistic. Indiana coming in rested, which let's circle back to that conversation about the teams that had first round buys, because I think there might be a little bit of something there. Indiana has played the best of anybody in the country this year. They have looked like a complete team. They've been able to win multiple styles of games. That offense looks inevitable. What do you guys think will end up being the difference maker in this game?
Again, I think that Alabama is it. It shocked me that they were able to do what they were able to do against Oklahoma, because just like majority of the games of the season, Alabama is one-dimensional. I don't think they put up 30 yards in that game rushing. So
they didn't have 30 yards rushing?
No, I don't.
Am I tripping?
No, go back and look up the stats. I don't think they
pulling
had
it up. Keep going.
rushing in that game. Maybe they did.
With sack yardage, the net rushing yards was 28 yards. That's insanity.
So again, and Indiana has a really good defense. So if you're telling me, hey, the only chance we have to win game in and game out, this has been Alabama's thing, is Ty Simpson is going to take us to the promised land. I'm not on that unk train. I don't think Ty Simpson is that great.
Not the unk train.
I think that Jeremy Bernard is really good. Obviously, you got the little kid out there. Is he still 18? I'm not sure.
He ain't all that good, apparently. He about to get benched.
So you have talent out there, but if you can't be balanced, I don't think that you're going to march into any kind of game right now in the playoffs where you're going to go up there against a really good defense and say, yeah, we can do one thing really, really well, and we're going to beat you. It's not going to happen. It's just not.
I think they're both hot right now. Like I said, man, you look at both teams on paper. I do think Alabama has the better team. If you look at both the quarterbacks' stats, they're not that far off. Ty Simpson has thrown for more yardage. Mendoza has 33 touchdowns to Ty's 28, and Mendoza has 6 picks to Ty's 5. The quarterback matchup is pretty much neck and neck, and Ty could do a lot more with his legs. Their running game isn't that great. They didn't have a 1,000-yard rusher in Indiana. So yeah, Jam Miller's back, but we've kind of chalked up that Alabama rushing game. It's not going to happen. The X factors are going to be the receivers for me, because Bama. I know Ryan Williams. I don't know what's going on with him this year. They should take him off the cover of NCAA. But you still have Horton out there, and you still have Bernard out there that can make anybody look stupid or silly on the outside. And I think that those receivers are, and the number 17, I forget the kid's name. He's kind of stepped into that third receiver role, and he's the one that kind of propelled the team and got the team going. So they do have weapons, and those corners on the outside for Alabama aren't terrible guys. They're elite guys from high school. So I do think Alabama has the Jimmies and the Joes to stick with this Indiana team. So that's why I give them the chance to win. But I do think Indiana still will get the win. And that's going to be from coaching, not necessarily from the players. I think Alabama would get out coached.
Alabama outcoached Cignetti, I think that's a wild
No,
statement.
I think Alabama will get outcoached.
Oh, we'll get outcoached.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. That
Alabama
makes
has
sense.
the best weapons, but I do think Cignetti outcoaches them.
I agree. I think Indiana has earned the reasonable the benefit of the doubt. That's the word I'm looking for. Indiana has earned my benefit of the doubt. Again, you've seen them win in multiple ways. They can get their run game going. Fernando Mendoza, though he may be the weakest Heisman we've seen in quite a while, he is still the Heisman. When they need him to make Heisman plays, he's done it. Oregon on the road. He needed him to step up. He went out there, he put a drive together to go put points on the board. Ohio State, he had to go make plays. They needed to go put points on the board. He was able to do that. The run game was able to get going. Their receivers have stepped up in big moments. I'm not a big believer in Alabama's corners either. Yes, they will get some pick six if you give them opportunities, but they'll get beat. I thought Oklahoma's receivers were running wild more than they have been for a while. I hadn't heard Deion Burke's name in weeks. And all of a sudden now he's making plays against these Alabama DBs. And can Alabama consistently rush the passer? Like they were able to get some pass rush in the second half against Oklahoma, but that hasn't been consistent all year. That pass rush has been mostly pedestrian. If you're going to give Fernando Mendoza time, he will carve you up. So give me Indiana. I think Indiana, they're just a better team right now. Maybe less talented. They're going to be less talented than everybody they play in this field. Yeah. But they are arguably the best team in the field.
Real quick, guys, and kind of circle back. What was it that switched that game around? Kind of going back to Oklahoma and Alabama, what was it that all of a sudden made that Alabama defense and that pass rush more effective in you guys' mind?
They created pressure. They had to generate pressure outside of the D line. They were sitting back early playing zone and wasn't getting it done up front. And then Womack started sending guys from the secondary, from the linebackers, and that's when you put a little bit of pressure on Mateer. You turn the ball over. He's sped up and he's overthrowing guys. And I think that kind of turned the game.
But I think they also started doing some different things on the back end where he held onto the ball a little bit longer. And in the first half, he was able to do that. But then when you start mixing that with pressures coming from different places, you also got to remember, Oklahoma's playing two true freshmen on that offensive line. And so if you start giving them weird pictures and weird angles and guys coming from odd places, I think they got a little bit confused too. All right. You want to keep rolling? So I don't know if we're going to let's go ahead and make picks. So is everybody picking Indiana, Alabama in the Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all, January 1st, 4 p.m. Is everybody rolling with Indiana, the touchdown favorite?
I'm leaning Bama, man. I'm leaning.
Still, he going to do it again. Okay.
Yeah, disgusting, 21-17. Hoosiers.
I'm not gonna lie, my gut says Alabama for whatever reason, but my head says Indiana, and I'm going Indiana. All right, let's take a step back to the first game of the New Year's Day, which is going to be Oregon and Texas Tech playing in the Orange Bowl. So two teams traveling a decent little distance down to Miami. Obviously, Texas Tech had the bye week. Texas Tech has really been led by their defense. They have arguably the best defensive line in the country. Their linebackers are just dogs. They fly to the ball. They intercept passes. Those linebackers seemingly do everything, but we have seen that offense sputter at times. Meanwhile, Oregon comes in after getting a nice little tune-up game at home against James Madison. Shout out to the Dukes. Shout out to the Dukes Twitter account, because I hate that we won't get more of that in the spotlight. But Oregon put on a complete performance. Now, late, they gave up some points, but really, they had called the dogs off. When it was a game, it wasn't a game because it was a blowout. What do you guys think will be the differences in this one? Will Oregon's offense still be able to move the ball and score against this Texas Tech defense? And can Texas Tech find some sort of an offense?
I think that Texas Tech offense is what it is. I think
that's not good.
It's not. However, they can rest easy that I think that Texas Tech defense is exactly what we think it is. They're serious, man, and they have great mustaches around the crew. Right?
Mustache gang.
And fantastic mustache bunch.
Man, listen, let me tell you. So I was trying to reference a game that I could kind of go back to maybe see would it be something similar. And Oregon played Indiana earlier. Again, really good defense. They got pressure on Moore. Still a young kid. You know what I mean? I don't know how he's going to handle the spotlight. And I think that Ohio State game is shit. Going back to Indiana, my bad. I honestly think that Texas A&M squad, them going ahead and doing what they did in their conference championship game, they're still pretty much hot. So like you talk about like hot teams in the playoffs, like they dominated that game again, right? So give me that defense, young quarterback, Texas Tech 27-17.
Okay. I'm with you on the defense. This defense is for real. The front seven, you can't run the ball on this defense. You better. You can't even pass the ball. The linebackers are picking passes. So that defense is for real. And you mentioned the Indiana game where Oregon struggled, and you look at also the Penn State game and the Iowa game. That especially that Iowa game, that was a defensive struggle. Iowa had the opportunity to beat Oregon if they had an offense. I think if it gets into a defensive matchup, I'm leaning towards Texas A&M because they have enough offense to put up points. And so I think you go into this game with a game plan of make it in a phone booth kind of game. Don't spread it out. You don't want to get into a shootout with Oregon. If you get into a defensive struggle, I do think Texas Tech has enough weapons on offense to win this game. So if go back and watch that Iowa game, that's the type of game you want to play against Oregon. So I'm a lean towards Texas Tech, man. I'm going 21-17 Texas Tech.
Yeah, no. I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this Oregon.
That,
yeah. I ain't. Hey, I ain't with you, big brother, but I ain't mad at you for what you do. It's hard for me to see Texas Tech's defense being able to hold up for as long as they're going to have to. I also think there is something to teams sitting around while other teams play. Football is not a you just show up and play kind of game. Like you need to be, it is a rhythm game. It is about being hot at the right times. And sitting around, it's hard to mentally and physically stay engaged for the type of collisions that you get at this level of ball. And if I'm looking at this Oregon team, I think Oregon is one of the more complete teams in the field. There's not a lot of holes in this team. They can run the ball. They got 2 running backs that you got to respect. They have crazy talent on the outside that's getting healthier because we got to remember they haven't had Evan Stewart all season. They haven't had DeCorian Moore all season. Malik Benson all of a sudden looks like a guy. They might get Sadiq, the tight end, back. So you're talking about an offense that could also be getting healthy, which they didn't have a number of those guys against Iowa. They didn't have a number of those guys against Indiana. And that defense, I think that defense is probably a little underrated. Of the teams in the field, that defense is probably a little stingier than most of us would like to give them credit for. Can they be had at times? Sure. Indiana showed us that. Heck, even JMU showed it a little bit. But if you're talking about 4 quarters of Texas Tech defense being able to hold up and potentially not getting a whole lot of help from that offense, because that offense looks anemic at times. They should have beat BYU by 50 both times, and the offense wouldn't let them do it. You turn the ball over against this Oregon team with that talent, you're going to find yourself in the grits right next to the cheese. So give me Oregon, man. I think Texas Tech is a good team, and that defense is a problem. But at some point, that offense really is going to have to score, and I don't trust them to do it. Give me Oregon. Let's finish with the last game of New Year's Day. You're going to get number 6, Ole Miss. Number 3, Georgia. Georgia is a 6.5 point favorite. First of all, am I the only one that's surprised? Yeah, hey, Rummy, throw some links with them grits. I'm hungry than a mug. Is anybody else surprised that Georgia's only a 6.5 point favorite over Ole Miss without their head coach?
I'm not. I think their first matchup, it was closer. It was a close game, and I do think Gunnar Stockton, he's hot and cold. He's hot and cold. I'll say that. So, I don't think he's going to be the X factor. I think he's got to manage the game. Georgia's receivers aren't elite, even though Zach Branch has been coming on as of late. So I do think it's going to be, if I'm giving the edge, you got to look at quarterback first. Give me Trinidad because he's a gamer at quarterback, and Ole Miss has the weapons on the outside. They do have the running game, and I do think their defense is good enough. I do see a shootout, so I can see this game being close. And I think they showed the cohesion offensively that we thought wasn't going to be there because Lane wasn't there. I think that was the biggest question mark going into this past game. So they answered that. So I think moving forward, although I'm not calling them to win this game, I do think it's a close game.
So who wins the game, Monk?
I'm going Georgia.
Okay.
By a field goal.
I mean, so all that just to say Georgia. Got you.
Well, the question wasn't whether Georgia was going to win or not.
No,
I'm surprised why the game is this close.
I'm messing with you. No, honestly, I think everything you said is 100% true. If it gets down to a close game, give me coaching at that point. Give me the coach to put their players in the right position. I think, again, Georgia has been showing that kind of all season where we've seen Ole Miss lose games that they could have won late. They couldn't hold on to a lead. It's that defense where we've seen Georgia, again, Gunnar Stockton. Is he going to go out there all the time and be the difference maker? From quarters 1 to 3, maybe not. But I think that we've seen a lot of games this season where Gunnar Stockton was actually the difference in the fourth quarter. He's made those plays. Or that Georgia defense just rises up and all of a sudden, oh, shoot, it's the Georgia defense again. Georgia has been, I guess, Jekyll and Hyde in a positive way, where when they need offense, they get offense. When they need defense, they get defense. So, yeah, give me Georgia in this game, man. I think that losing an offensive mind like Lane Kiffin in a playoff game where things can go left or right, you're not really sure, and maybe you need that one play on offense, and they don't have that right now. So I get those guys are playing for themselves, and that's great. I mean, shout out to Ole Miss for even being here and still being engaged in it. I'm gonna take Georgia by 10.
Yeah, give me Georgia to cover. Again,
What's
the spread is 6.5. Georgia's only a 6.5 point favorite, so you're basically taking them to cover as well. Yeah, give me Georgia to cover. I think there has to be something for the leader of the team not being around, especially when you get into some of the moments that you're probably going to get in versus a Georgia team. This is Georgia we're talking about. And of late, they actually look like Georgia. We saw what they did against Alabama. Again, put them boys in the grits early and kept them down in it. They was at the bottom. Like sometimes when you're cooking your grits too fast and they start to stick at the bottom, and if you don't scrape them off early enough, them grits are stuck, and you gotta soak that pot, bro, and let them grits kind of loosen up with some of your Dawn up in there and some hot water. I think Ole Miss is gonna end up in the grits. It's hard for me to see that this team whose head coach is gone, the offensive staff, yes, they came back, but let's be honest, their minds are on LSU. I think there's even a little bit of that maybe for Trinidad Chambliss. He's probably going to LSU. Lacey, the Keywan Lacey, the running back. It's hard for me to see these boys able to have the mental space and be in the right mindset to go win a game like this against Georgia, who has, as of late, looked like Georgia. I think Georgia's going to handle business, and honestly, I don't think it's going to be all that competitive. Give me Georgia by a couple of scores, and that's in the third quarter.
Sheesh.
Yeah, man. Losing your head coach, the schedule stinks, the calendar stinks, and the way things line up in college football, man. But losing your head coach means something. And sure, it don't mean nothing against Tulane, whose head coach, his mind is already in Gainesville, and half his staff is already thinking about Gainesville, and they're doing player interviews and pushing DJ Trash way out the door. But
on the videos,
right. Hey, Kirby and that staff is locked. Them boys ain't going nowhere. Glenn Schumann ain't going nowhere. Them boys are dialed in, and they've had nothing but time to sit around and prepare for you. Meanwhile, half of your people's mind is somewhere else. Yeah, man, I think Georgia gonna have them boys in the grits, man. Throw some bacon in them grits, AY. All right. And then we never actually made picks. Let's make some picks. Miami, Ohio State. Make your call. Who you guys taking? Make it official.
Give me Ohio State 28-14.
Hate myself.
Pull away late.
Do it, Pump. Do it.
Pump.
Do
You've been
it.
looking real shady lately, man. We gonna have to have a talk.
Miami
Do
20,
it.
You might have to step in the locker room, man.
Miami 2017. I said what I said.
Oh, retribution. The Canes get
Hey,
revenge.
Breeze, what was that Boosie meme? Come on, man.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
I ain't proud of it. I gotta be honest with the people, though, right?
What's your reasoning before we get Breeze's
Please.
pick, which we already know what his pick is? Why?
I honestly think that when that Miami defense has something to prove, you watch homeboy from Texas A&M just call out Ruben Bain, right? It's like, yeah, I ain't watched no film on him. And Ruben said, yeah, I saw it. And he just goes out there and has like 85 pressures, 2 sacks, and blocks a field goal. Okay. He's good. That defense is really good. They have playmakers. And I think, in all honesty, like when we were watching the Indiana-Ohio State game, the same thing you feel about Julian saying is like, okay, yeah, he's okay. So you think an okay guy and Marcel Reed are the same people, right? So if Ohio State, I mean, if they could do what they did to Marcel Reed, again, he had a whole bunch of passing yards, but it meant nothing, then you don't think that he can knock Julian Say off his square?
I mean, sure.
I think that defense is going to be the difference. I just do.
I will say this: the last time Jeremiah Smith was talking trash, he went out there and just was unstoppable against Oregon with me throwing the ball at him. That's all I'm saying.
I hear you, but I mean, he was out there against Indiana too, right?
Yeah,
and it put up what?
He didn't have a terrible game. The team had a terrible game.
They put up how many points?
Which is fine. I mean,
all I'm saying.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Breeze?
I gave him 17 in this game, if that makes a difference.
And he puts Ruben Bain back on the screen.
Big time players make big time plays in big time games.
Are you picking with your heart or your head?
Oh, 70% heart, 70% heart, 30% head. I don't think there's this. Not tonight, sweetheart. Give me that head. I don't think. Listen, bro. Look, keep it in a buck, like keeping it a whole buck. If I've watched Indiana be able to match these people up front and be able to, what I thought, scheme up ways to neutralize some of the things that Ohio State can do best. I'm looking at my defense. I think it's more talented. I think my defensive coordinator is just as good, if not better. We've seen Julian saying when he was going up against defenses that can challenge him, look pedestrian. Texas week 1. It is week 1. It was his first time starting, but you're at home, and I only saw you play against a couple of really competent teams. And you look pedestrian against Texas. Indiana, aside from one drive, you mostly look pedestrian. Miami has created havoc and turnovers for the majority of quarterbacks they've played. Now, does Ohio State have the talent to go out and do some of the things maybe a Louisville did with Chris Bell? 100%. They absolutely have that. Do they have a quarterback who, if he's in time and on rhythm, can do some of the things Kevin Johnson at SMU? Sure, he could. But when this Miami defense has been on his game, it looks like an impenetrable force. And defense wins games. Defense wins championships, right? Isn't that the old saying? Defense wins championships. And I think you see Miami on offense show that they can win in multiple ways. Yes, Malachi Tony can go out and be a star, but even if Malachi Tony's pedestrian, Mark Fletcher goes out and run for 170 yards, puts the team on his back. You've seen where there's been games where CJ Daniels goes out there and makes a couple of ridiculous catches to be the difference on the scoreboard. So I don't think there's a crazy talent disparity. I don't think either team will pull away by any means. And if it's coming down on the margins, give me a defense that creates turnovers. This Miami defense creates a lot of turnovers. On the back end, I think we're much better than people think we are. And this is going to be the best pass rush Ohio State has seen. They have not seen a Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor, a David Blay and a Justin Scott on the interior. Cornerbacks like a Keontae Scott, who literally just makes plays. That first fumble wasn't Ruben Bain. It wasn't Akeem Mesidor. It was Keontae Scott from the nickel spot, who I think should have won a Thorpe Award if he didn't get hurt and missed 3 games. Like, give me Miami, and I think the difference is going to be a Julian Sand turnover, same way it was in the Indiana game. Miami by a field goal. What you want to call it? 2017, 17-14. I don't think a lot of points get scored. I think Miami wins by a field goal, and I will be in attendance, and I will absolutely be back without my voice.
Sounds like a good time.
Wait, official, you there?
Oh, my ticket's cop. I put my bid in through the school before the playoffs started.
The Cotton Bowl, right?
It is the Cotton Bowl, Arlington, Texas. I'll be in Jerry World. I've been looking at flights during this conversation.
How the seats
Where you
look?
go?
What kind of
Make sure I shoot you Stu's information, man.
Would love to catch up with that guy, Stu. Great dude. One of the best people I know. Yeah, man. I'm looking at flights. It's probably going to be a quick turnaround. Probably like in day of the game, probably out New Year's Day. So I won't be around too long. I would love to spend a little more time out there, but the flights are trash. Have y'all you've flown to Dallas? These flights are trash.
I also put a lot of flights on Klarna nowadays.
Hey man, come on over.
Hey man,
Come on
over.
Hey,
I ain't mad at it.
You kidding me?
Uncle, you asked me about the seats. I'm up in 344, so not the best of seats. But again, I did the lottery through the school, and they do it by like a tiering system. And apparently, I don't donate enough to the University of Miami Athletics to get the better lower seats.
You in the building? That's all that matters.
Yeah,
that energy gonna be different.
Yeah, Breeze, I'm going through the same thing. Floor's like, oh yeah, I'm not giving y'all shit.
hey, Breeze, let's move on.
All right, guys, that's it on the college landscape. We will obviously double back next week to talk about, no, because next week there won't be more games. Next week, we'll just be talking about NFL. Go ahead.
You guys give your Texas Tech picks?
Yeah, I picked Oregon.
Okay. You did too?
Yeah, I picked Texas Tech.
Okay.
Yep. I'm the only one that picked Oregon. Unc is the only one that picked Alabama. All of us picked Georgia. And Unc is the only one to pick the Suckeyes.
I don't know who this man is anymore.
Not tonight, sweetheart.
All right, guys. NFL. There are some NFL things to talk about. Where would you like to begin?
Do we really have anything to talk about?
I would like you guys to highlight my caption. I told y'all niggas.
Do we want to get it?
Was hooping.
Do we want to do it? Do we want to just do it?
We got to do it.
All right. Shout out to the people in the comments. Shout out to everybody watching. Please hit the like. Please hit the subscribe. A tradition here on the Somebody Said podcast.
Hey, wait. Turn your lights on, Pump. Show them the lights.
Oh, shit, yes.
What lights?
He's got lights.
Hold on. I got buttons. I got buttons here. Hold on.
You missed the lights.
Yeah.
All right, continue, Breeze.
Oh.
A tradition on the Somebody Said podcast when the Chicago Bears, Pump's own Chicago Bears, get a victory pump, drinks victory wine, and we bring it in this way. Pump, what wine are you drinking to celebrate another Bears victory?
So I upgraded because I'm not celebrating a Bears victory.
Mm-hmm.
I'm celebrating the Bears clinching a playoff spot.
That's nasty business.
Okay.
You called it.
First time clinching a playoff spot since 2018. Okay. My daughter was 8. Okay. She's a sophomore in high school now.
That's wild.
We're taking Patron.
That man got that Patrick. That man pulled a Patrick out. He's
Hey.
not drinking on the wine.
You got to though, man. You got to.
He's drinking on that corn oil.
Man, Pump, congrats, man. You called it before the season.
But that's bonkers.
I will even do this much. I will walk back some of the comments I made about Caleb Williams. That kid's gonna be good. I I'm not one to be wrong all the time, but when I am, I walk it back. I watched that game because I had a parlay on it. I watched it, and I took the Packers to win. You guys kicked the onside kick with a minute or so left on the clock, recovered, and that kid had ice in his vein and dropped a dime, like a 60-yard dime to win that game. And he's been doing it all season with his legs and his arms, and he's going to be a really good player for years to come. And I can see the Bears continue making the playoffs, man. So congrats.
Hey, man, listen. I'm at the crib, right? And I actually had young Kobe at the crib with me. We're sitting on the couch, beverages are being poured. These boys are down 16-6. Kobe dips. He's like, yeah, cuz not looking too good for you. Kobe skates. I sent him a text. I'm like, hey, tie game. He's like, word? Hey, man, listen. That was one of those games where a bunch of people are going to swear they were actually there at that game. Like 10 years from now, be like, yeah, man, I had tickets for that game, but I gave them to my cousin. But all of a sudden, like a million other people can be like, man, I was there at that game. He hit DJ Moore. 25,000 people are going to be at that game 2 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
There. But it's cool. Man, listen. Squad is good, man.
Bear down.
Good.
Bear down, man.
That's it. That's all I got.
I am vindicated on the Caleb Williams talk. I was a Caleb Williams guy when he was at Oklahoma. I bought in with him at USC when y'all dumped him in his last year at USC, and I stuck with that finger painting young man. And shout out to the Bears, man. Shout out to those Bears.
French tips for everybody.
French tips all around.
Bear down.
Paint them fingernails.
I missed out on all 3 Blackhawks parades, and I missed out on the Cubs parade. If the Bears win the Super Bowl,
you're playing your nails.
Well, first of all, y'all ain't gonna see me for a week.
I believe it. I believe it. Flights on Klarna.
Hey,
Thomas Reichert, I'm assuming I'm saying that correctly, wants to talk about the Falcons.
Is he a real person? We've been catfished a couple times.
I have been fooled before. I don't know. Falcons went out and got a win, but the Falcons are eliminated from playoff contention. They're not going to go out and win the division by any means. But I do think, I'm going to be honest, I'm disappointed in the Falcons. I thought the Falcons would be better than this. I am a Michael Penix fan, very loudly and proudly.
Injuries don't help.
Injuries don't help. Bijan Robinson is that dude, the wide receiver. Why am I blanking on the receiver's name? Drake London. I'm always on the fence about him. I mean, statistically, he put some numbers. Kyle Pitts is a Gator, and that kind of says all that.
He's starting to turn it on now.
But that defense didn't really go off, right? They were talking about going out and drafting that edge and that they were going to get a pass rush. That defense hasn't taken that next step, and they've got some pieces to build around, sure. But one, you got to find ways to stay healthy, which is easier said than done. And 2, they're just missing that something. And I don't know. I know what that something is.
I think you didn't get it right at quarterback. I think you have to kind of circle the block. Maybe if Mendoza's there.
It's his first year, bro. Come on. Why are we on him already?
I don't think he's the right guy. I think they have all the pieces offensively. You got a good running game. You got a good 1-2 punch in Algier and Bijan. You got your tight end who I think they should re-sign. He's starting to turn it on. Drake London, you maybe get another piece on the outside and find you a Mendoza in the draft. And you're playing in the South. You beat the Bucks. So, it's not that hard to win in the South. So you're almost there, essentially. Get you a good quarterback. Those 2 edge rushers that they drafted, those are good cornerstones, and I think they're on the uptick. And fire Raheem Morris.
I think that's another thing that needs to happen.
Yeah.
Fire Radio Raheem. I'm definitely on board with that. While we're in the NFC slouch, who's winning this dumpster fire? Are the Panthers actually going to win this stinky division? Are the Bucks that much of an embarrassment and that hot garbage that we're going to let the Panthers win this division?
Man, I text you after the game. I'm sick of Baker. I've been championing Baker on this show for the past 2 years, and I'm officially sick of Baker Mayfield.
Let me change the views.
I think that he's trying to win every play, and you don't need to win every play. You got some of the better receivers in the league. You got a really good running game. Take the winning play on each play. Take the 3 yards. You don't have to force it to Mike Evans because he's back. I just don't think we're playing really good football right now, and I do think the Panthers will end up winning the division.
The defense stinks.
That too.
We were bottom 5 in the NFC in points allowed. That's gross activity. The only teams that have given up more points than the Bucks in the NFC are the Dallas Cowboys, the Washington Redskins, the New York Giants, and the Arizona Cardinals. Other than that, we've given up 377 points. That's nasty business. Bro, fire Todd Bowles. You're supposed to be a defensive mind, and your defense stinks. You won't draft elite corners, in my opinion. We still don't have a pass rush. Can we rush a passer? There's going to be multiple edges in this draft. One of them will fall. They're already talking about Ruben Baines got short T-Rex arms.
Take him. Who cares?
Yeah, they said the same thing about Will Campbell. How's that working out for you?
Draft
James Harrison.
Draft an elite pass rusher, bro. Please. And real quick on Baker, real quick, Pump. What have I always said? The Baker Mayfield experience. He will have some incredible highs.
Yeah.
And then he will do some boneheaded stuff and we're like, Baker, what are you doing? It's the Baker Mayfield experience. And anytime that I've tried to be honest about Baker, y'all get on my case. And anytime he goes out there and he's hitting his highs, y'all come right after me. Oh, Breeze, you gonna give Baker some love? You gonna backpedal on the Baker takes? It's the Baker experience. Yes, every roller coaster has a top. But guess what happens on that roller coaster? You get to a bottom too. It's a roller coaster with Baker. It's the Baker Mayfield experience. It's always been that way.
All right, 2 things. To be fair, I feel like when we were having the Baker for MVP conversations, you guys were already dealing with like a ton of injuries. And because
you've been injured all year.
Right. And because you were winning because of a lot of things that Baker was doing. And I feel like you guys have still had those same kinds of. It hasn't been a great year for the Bucks. I'm health wise. Like if you guys had a full roster, if you guys would have gotten your full roster back, and Baker was still just doing the things that he was doing, you guys have been fine. I mean, Uncle would have still been trying to fire Todd Bowles, even if y'all were 11-4.
But I fired him 5 years ago.
Yeah, I'm gonna say you fired him 5 years ago.
Or whatever it was.
I'm not here to shoot Baker any kind of bail. What I am here to do again is go back to my caption that said I told y'all niggas, because y'all were dumping on when I said, hey, Carolina and Jacksonville is gonna be a pretty good game.
I'm not buying that either. I'm not buying that Carolina's a legitimate.
Jacksonville looks good though. I'll buy that. I'll buy
11-4, and Carolina is poised to win your division. And y'all are like, man, get out of here. I told y'all.
And if we're talking about defense, Breeze, we just talked about Miami's defense. Carolina has a really good defense.
Breeze is showing off his beard right now.
Pumpkin watch. They're on pumpkin watch. I'm not buying it. Just like I wasn't buying with.
I didn't say they were going to
Stinky Jones.
I'm just saying that you also didn't think that Jacksonville was going to go 11-4 4. And I told y'all a long time ago, they got a pretty solid defense.
And they just beat the Broncos, who we
All
might
I'm
regard
saying.
as one of the best defense.
Pumpkin watch.
That's
All right.
cool.
Eventually the clock strikes 12.
It does.
It's 10:50 right now.
Hey, listen, I mean, the clock is wrong.
Breeze, Pump, you know what Breeze does? He sits back and waits on people's downfall just to say, I told you so. Even when they have moments, a stretch of moments where they're really, really good.
No,
he
this
waits
is
on their downfall.
Listen, Unk is my friend back in like high school when the Bulls were really good and they were winning 6 championships, and then all of a sudden Jordan retired and they started losing. And then my friend was like, I told y'all wasn't good. And like, okay, yeah,
but they were good for the stretch.
No. What I do is I refuse to give knee-jerk credit for you getting hot at some period of time or you looking good for a little bit.
That was the initial reaction. That wasn't even knee-jerk. I told y'all at the beginning of the season that Carolina and Jacksonville might be decent.
Yeah, and both of those teams did not start the season looking great. And they also had really bad lows where you weren't singing their praises. Carolina's not a great team. What are we doing?
Jacksonville had a low. They're 11-4. They're 11-4.
I think they started out the season 0-2.
I told y'all that they were gonna be, and Jacksonville had a good defense.
There was a point through 7 games, Jacksonville was 4-3, and nobody was raving about the Jaguars, including you.
No, I didn't say I was raving. I said that they have a really good defense. That's all I'm saying.
Sure, man.
We don't have to stay here. We're an hour and 20 in. Thomas wants to know what's our team. So do we want to go around the horn? And he's new, so
okay. All right. Well,
get up out of here.
Yeah, I'll go first. Miami Hurricanes fan, season ticket holder, been a Cane my entire life. Born and raised in Tampa Bay, though, so everything Tampa Bay that you get in pro sports, Lightning, go Bolts, Bucks, Rays, and then for other teams, I had to go elsewhere.
Obviously, Florida State Seminoles season ticket holder as well. Breeze,
you
alumni.
There you go.
Everything Chicago. More of a Cubs fan than a Sox fan, but if the Sox win, hey, I'm not mad at it. Also, minor league San Francisco Seals. Shout out them.
Shout out to the Seals.
As you can see, I'm sitting in the locker room currently.
We'll get out the locker room.
I will be a season ticket holder this year. Unfortunately,
yeah. Gotta get in when it's cheap.
Yeah. Bucks, Lakers, Duke, college basketball, Rays, and go Mapes.
Nobody says Mapes.
No Mapes.
Go Leaves. I'm a infant in my hockey experience right now.
You don't watch anymore. It's fine.
I watch in the playoffs.
My man.
We call those people casuals.
Hey man, Florida State is going through a crisis right now. I can't watch any other sports until I figure it out. Maybe the Lakers and Duke and the Bucks, but
Listen,
we got to figure out what's going on in Tallahassee.
At some point we should drop our war chant group chat like the Epstein files and just redact a whole bunch of stuff.
Hey, Thomas is good with me. Let's go. I love to hear that, Thomas. From Toronto.
So who does Thomas like?
I want to guess the Habs, maybe?
Canadians?
Thomas,
no, he can't be a Habs fan. No, there's no way he's a Habs fan.
He's a Vancouver fan.
No, that's way on the West Coast.
Nah, he's a Habs fan.
Okay,
Thomas.
Hey, Thomas.
Come on, Thomas. Thomas, who is your NHL team?
Habs.
He's a slow typer.
Habs.
I'm going with the Vancouver.
He's not a Canucks fan, not at all.
No, he's not.
He missed his window.
At this point, we're gonna be waiting here all night.
Yeah.
All right.
Penguins.
All right.
Sid the Kid is the GOAT.
All right.
Yeah, they don't like you back home, bro.
I'm
not mad at it.
I
hate the Leafs. Love Sid, hate the Leafs. So Thomas is cool with me. All right, guys, let's get up out of here.
Breeze, I got a question before we get up out of here. if you guys were the Ravens front office, what would you do to fix that team to close out the show?
Get a real wide receiver one.
Okay.
I've been saying it for like 7 years.
That's it.
It's the biggest thing they need. Like, who's the right as a pass catcher? This is an
Zay?
offensive league nowadays.
Sure.
Go get a real wide receiver one, dog.
All right.
Trade Lamar.
And as always, we appreciate everybody tuning in. If you are watching the Somebody Said podcast, please hit the like, please hit the subscribe, please hit the share. Steal somebody's phone, subscribe for them as well. We'd appreciate it. Stealing is encouraged around these parts. As always, I'm always joined by Uncle Bayless.
The oven ain't working, Baker. Get up out of Tampa.
I am always joined by Pumpy Johnson.
I told y'all niggas.
Man, and I am Breeze. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Everybody have a good night. Every Monday night, 9 p.m. We'll see y'all next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Peace.
Be easy.
Yeah,